So nowadays, women who live in houses made by men, using technology made by men, driving vehicles made by men, disdain men and relationships. We have Tinder, we have Instagram, we have attention-seeking women who are seeking the absolute apex of men, the top 5% of men in terms of attractiveness. And all women, practically, are competing for the attention of these men, and all the other men are shoved aside. So it's not surprising that so many men are giving up dating and they're becoming hikikomori or MG-toes or whatever. It's a tragedy. Hello and welcome to the heliosblog. My name is Helios. Thank you so much for watching. If this is your first time watching, remember to like, comment and subscribe, hitting all for notifications. If you're a regular, thank you so much for your continued support. Remember to watch until the end. You're not going to want to miss this episode. Today, we're going to talk about why you've given up dating. Stick around till the end. This is going to be a wonderful episode. It should come as no surprise why some people have given up dating. Now, here's a surprising fact. The modern world now is predicting that in the future there's going to be way more people who are going to be single and unmarried than ever before. And this is especially troubling because there's going to be way more women who are single and childless past the age of 30. Now, I don't know if you've heard of this thing called hikikomori. This is in Japan. But basically, the translation is herbivore men. So these are men that are refusing to get with women because Japan has kind of a workaholic culture, and the man is expected to work like something like 20 or whatever, 18 hours per day, 6 days a week, for a wife that doesn't even love him, that is just settling for him because she's wasted away her youth. Anyway, it's very rough in Korea and Japan because of basically womanist beliefs passed on from America. And now that same trend is happening in America, or, you know, in the Western world in general, not just in America, with herbivore men, but they're called something else. They're called MG-toes in the West, men going their own way. So yeah, the relationship between the sexes nowadays is contentious, maybe more than ever due to womanism and other factors, which I'm going to explain in a second. Let's see if we can't explain why. Off we go. What's up with relationships today? Anyone with experience on the dating market can tell you something is wrong. Women today are more free and wealthy than at any time in human history, yet they're more entitled and miserable than ever before. And modern men in the dating market have some of the hardest slopes to climb in all of human history. It really is a tragedy of the modern times. So let me explain the big reason why. And that big reason, well, there's two. The first is the birth control pill, which appeared in the 1960s and allowed women to select for which men they're interested in sleeping with, and also it allows women to determine who will actually come into the world in the future, which is it basically allows women to control the natural selection of the human race. But more than this, it also means that sex is no longer a risk, which means that the long term doesn't have to matter as much for women. They can have sex just for fun, right? Because the risk of pregnancy is low. And so, as a result of this, we get the modern world, where we have OnlyFans, we have Tinder, we have Instagram, we have attention-seeking women who are seeking the absolute apex of men, the top 5% of men in terms of attractiveness. And all women, practically, are competing for the attention of these men, and all the other men are shoved aside. So it's not surprising that so many men are giving up dating and they're becoming hikikomori or MG-toes or whatever. It's a tragedy. So, let's relate this to the cycle of the times and where we lie. So here is the cycle of the times. Hard times create strong men create good times, good times create weak men, and weak men cause hard times. So right now, we're in the period where weak men are causing hard times. So of course, we had World War II, and then after the Second World War, we had a booming golden age for the West, which is now collapsing into ruin as a result of basically just a surplus of wealth and cultural decay that happened as a result. It's too much of a good thing, and no hardship made life too easy, made men weak and women entitled, and led to the situation we're in now. So nowadays, women who live in houses made by men, using technology made by men, driving vehicles made by men, disdain men and relationships. Except for the absolute apex. Sadly, since many women disdain average men more than ever, they're likely to end up miserable and die alone. So Pook, who is a player from the early 2000s, he put it best: women would rather share a successful winner than be saddled with a faithful loser. But the problem is that when women are seeking the absolute top man, what we're doing is we're returning to tribalistic human nature, right? Where one man, the chief, had 20 women and the rest of the men had nothing, or 2 or 3 of the chief's top men also had harems and nobody else reproduced. And so what ends up happening is those men become weak and despondent, and they just become users, or they give up, or you get bands of men going together and overthrowing this regime. So either we're going into times of severe instability, or we're going into times of sheer despondency, and I think it's going to be both at the same time. It's very worrisome. We live in very interesting times indeed. And the entitlement of women is largely due to the Pareto Principle, which I've described. So the Pareto Principle states that 80% of women desire the top 20% of men, but I believe nowadays with Instagram and social media, other social media, and Tinder and stuff like that, that women are actually looking more like the top 5% of men. So nowadays, average and below average women disdain average men, calling them scrubs or trash or losers, when they themselves are actually losers. The only reason that they're not losers is because, in their own eyes, is because some men, who are apex men, like the easy access to sex and just put them in the sex zone and sleep with them in their harem, but they would never commit to them. So these women are holding out hope that these superior men will choose them when they never will, and the men who would have happily been with them are just being discarded off to the side, and they dejectedly give up. So this is an unsustainable practice, right? Disdaining 80% or 95% of the male population, it's not going to end well. Women need families and relationships, yet disdain the very men that would give them such a happy family life. And such is the Sex and the City culture that we live in, that women get destroyed while simultaneously believing that they're boss, independent, strong women who are doing it all right, when they're actually doing it all wrong. Interesting times we live in. Marriage is becoming an elite institution. Only the absolute best men can get married. That isn't true. Any man can get married, but only the absolute highest men can afford to get married. Because divorce is like 60% plus chance, and 80% of the time it's initiated by the woman. So basically, if you as a man enter into a marriage in modern times, you're an idiot. But not only this, if you're an average man entering into a marriage, there's such a high probability of the relationship ending that you shouldn't even try in the first place. It's idiotic. You should find arrangements that are better for you, or work to become an apex man and then go into a marriage. So due to hypergamy, only in marriages with a superior man can men get the types of behavior that they desire from women, where men can be treated as the prize. And that's a huge problem, Because by definition, the average man can't get good behavior in modern marriage, and so modern marriage is bad for the average man, and so marriage, I think, is like 7% right now, or something, among like 20-year-olds, or even among like 20 to 35-year-olds in the modern world. It's like nobody's getting married anymore. Hypergamy and social media have made it totally untenable for the average man. Okay, so here's your conclusion. More and more people are giving up on dating and marriage because they don't qualify, or they're sick of dealing with entitled, annoying, disrespectful women. And womanism is largely responsible for the miserable state of affairs in the modern world, as well as the birth control pill and social media. So, I mean, the genie's out of the bottle. Man, I'm not surprised why men have given up dating, and that's why. So there you go, now you know. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for watching my channel. Please remember to do all of the following. Like the video for the algorithm. Comment on the video. I respond to all comments and I'll give you a heart. Subscribe and hit the bell so you can see my content on your feed. Check out all of my content on other platforms. It spreads the reach of the channel. YouTube, bit.ly/Helios YouTube. Rumble, bit.ly/Helios Rumble. My blog is realheliosblog.com. My podcast, bit.ly/Helios Podcast. My Patreon, patreon.com/theheliosblog. You can also support the show at bit.ly/Helios donations and buy my books at bit.ly/Helios books. Thank you so much for all of your support.